Emil Guillermo, Emil Muck to you. Welcome to my takeout, my Emil Muck takeout, my takes on all things considerable. There's a joke in there somewhere if you know me, if you know my background. Hey, we're here infrequently, but more frequently than not, on this channel on YouTube at Emil Muck 1. Please subscribe. I don't have any gizmos that say subscribe, but if you're on YouTube, subscribe. Tell your friends. We pop up 1:30, 2 o'clock Pacific whenever we can to talk about the news. And there was a lot of news to talk about because we had an election, we had a primary in New York that could reverberate and be something, could indicate something. And then we had something happen in Washington so that the political conversation goes away from the Democrats and goes more toward what Donald Trump wants. And what Donald Trump wants is he does not want to sign a bipartisan housing bill, which wouldn't have solved the housing crisis, but it would have enabled builders to skirt some regulations and build housing faster. And so it would have been a help. And that's why all the Republicans and the Democrats in a bipartisan fashion passed it by 2/3, by a super majority. And the Congress, the Senate, the House, they were all set to really, sign the bill and show, hey, America's back. And of course, it doesn't fit Donald Trump's narrative, which is the divisive narrative of we don't get along. This is a national emergency, not housing, but people who shouldn't vote voting in our elections. Right? I mean, this is Donald Trump style, creating a solution to a problem that is infinitesimal, doesn't exist. I mean, we don't have undocumented people or people who shouldn't be voting, not in the great numbers to cause a need for a Save America Act. But that's what Donald Trump wants. He wants a Save America Act. And darn it, he's not going to pass anything until you pass that Save America Act. And so instead of celebrating the bipartisanship of Congress and, Congress showing a spine, standing up, saying, yeah, we could do things together, we got Congress stymied again by Donald Trump. Because chaos is his thing. Chaos is what Donald Trump does. He doesn't want unity. He wants people to be divided because in that division, he gets his leverage, he gets his points in, and he creates chaos so that people say, well, if Donald Trump wants it, then I guess we should just go with it, right? I mean, there are people still who believe in it. If you saw, the excerpts of Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's book, which is released this week, talking about the people in the Trump White House, and you have people in the Trump White House who believe that he is messianic, that he knows something. It's the Trump way. And so no pushback amongst the true believers in the White House, and Congress is just scratching its head saying, what is going on? I mean, just when you think that enough Republicans are peeling off and gaining their senses, you got Donald Trump with a simple matter of just saying, I'm not signing this housing bill. Just throwing things into chaos again. Now, here's the funny thing. Donald Trump doesn't have to sign the vote or sign the bill. It becomes law after, I think, 10 days because it was voted in with a 2/3 majority. So it's a stunt, but also maybe a distraction from the thing that happened in New York City yesterday with the congressional primary, and maybe even the MOU that is not an agreement that everyone realizes is not an agreement over Iran, but is still an open wound. It's not we're moving towards some kind of final phase. Donald Trump likes to think it is, but every time Israel bombs Lebanon and a ceasefire doesn't hold, what do we have? We have something that's incomplete, something that means nothing, that is not even the bits of the Obama JCPOA agreement with Iran that Donald Trump tore up. I mean, Donald Trump wishes he had something that good. He has nothing that good. All he has is a 60-day commitment that Iran is going to talk and that the United States and Iran will talk. There, there's nothing there. Once again, Donald Trump went to war, an illegal war, and an unconstitutional illegal war, and we are worse off for it by billions of dollars, by a whole weaponized Strait of Hormuz. We are worse off. So, I mean, this is where we are in America today on this Wednesday, the 24th, and probably is going to be where we're going to be come our 250th birthday, July 4th. I frankly think that what the Democrats did yesterday the Democratic Socialists, so let's not be confused. The primary in New York, where Zohran Mamdani's candidates, three of them, swept the Democrats, including two fairly where they established they're popular, they're traditional liberals, and they were do nothing. I guess people in New York thought they were do nothing liberals. People in New York want something, and they want the Democratic Socialists, because the Democratic Socialists, well, that gave Zohran Mamdani the win. But what is a Democratic Socialist? It's Bernie Sanders. It's not President Xi. It's not President Putin. It's not the communist Chinese. It's not the communists in Russia. It's not communism. But there is Donald Trump today, after he said no to the housing bill, saying, well, the Democrats, they just want communists. They want communists. They want communists. They want communists. And it's not that way. It's not that. I mean, if you're an 80-year-old man, you're thinking, oh, communists, the communists are bad. The communists of old are not the communists, are not the socialists, the Democratic Socialists in American politics. But Donald Trump will make that mistake and go out there and red bait, and he will look like a fool. I think, because the people who are siding with the Democratic Socialists are young. They're black, they're brown, they're Asian, they're people on the outs, they're working class. And they say, enough of this 1% billionaire democracy baloney. We want to be heard. We want to be at the table. And this is what makes me think that this thing is going to expand throughout the country. When I was in Atlanta, and I told you already that, Atlanta was great. There was black people participating in leadership positions, black people in the street, and all the things I was doing, right? It's a black and white world, and compared to my segregated California world, I really enjoyed being in Atlanta. And I was there with some artists, some black artists, and one of them enjoyed what I was saying about politics and said, well, come on, Emil, where do you stand on Israel? Basic question, where do you stand on Israel? And I said, well, frankly, Bibi's not my man. And now we're in this new realm of nuance where it's not you're for Israel or else. It's really more nuance, and you can be for Israel's existence, but not for Israel's bad politics. In the same way that you can be for America, but not for America's bad politics. I mean, that's what's going on around the world. The Pew took a poll, and a lot of people are like scratching their head about Donald Trump around the world, saying, do we have confidence in him? Do we have confidence in America? So, I mean, turnabout's fair play. You ask questions of Americans, what is Israel? What's it look like? Are you an anti-Semite if you're against Israel? No. But you can be pro-Israel and anti-Israeli politics. And I think that is a new road that people are going down in America. And it's all due to this, well, the Palestinian issue, the Iranian war, the proxies of Iran. We're in a different situation today than we were 5, 10, 15 years ago. And that's why you got to look at what's happening in New York City. And you got to look at Donald Trump's reaction. And you got to say, well, there's some positive signs here. People are pushing back against Trump. They want action on affordability. They want action. They want politicians to do something about the things that are in their lives, right? The high cost of rent, the high cost of food, high cost of transportation. And if you've lived in New York, you know, boy, it's not just New York, but if you're in New York, you know how hard life is. And you know how ridiculous it is when there are people with so much wealth in New York. They live in penthouses on Park Avenue, and they are insulated from everything that 99% of the people in New York feel. They've got their own drivers. They have people cooking their food, people buying their food. They're insulated. And regular folks, people in Queens and Brooklyn, where are they? Struggling. 2-3 jobs, make ends meet. People are rising up, and they're using the vote. That's the revolution. They're using the vote. And the Democratic Socialists are, at this point, with Zoran Mamdani as the mayor of New York, they've got someone who's the leader of the wealthiest, the largest city. He's got political power now. Let's see how that transforms, and if it has legs to go throughout the nation. I think basically it's a good idea. It's a good thing, and let's see if it has legs to spread across the country. All right, so let me bring up my friend, my colleague, partner in crime at times, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University Professor Emeritus, Political Science, International Affairs. You know, I go to him just to see, to get his take. Hi, Dan.
Hey, how are you doing?
Just fine. So, you know, this thing in New York, you know, initially I wanted to talk about George Conway, you know, because George Conway,
He's a Pinoy.
Filipino American on
Yes,
his mother's side.
Yes, he was.
I thought, what is going to happen with George Conway? Will he get out of his district? He was the 12th district, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Too many people there. Too many people running.
he was in Chelsea, the sort of the West Side, West Village, and people liked him, but it's not enough to be anti-Trump, and it's not enough to be a cable media celebrity. He couldn't outpoint a woman who's a health advocate who never appears on TV. He wasn't enough to outpoint JFK Schlossberg, the grandson of JFK. And the two people who beat him, one is an assemblyman, or the two assemblymen, but one had the endorsement of Jerry Nadler, who's the outgoing congressman. So, you know, that shows you can't be just simply anti-Trump. But the other races where the Mamdani candidates beat really pretty established liberal establishment type guys, like the congressional leader of the Hispanic caucus was one.
Espaillat and Goldman.
And then Goldman, boy, you know, Goldman was, I thought, a hero.
Heavy duty. He was heavy duty into the impeachments.
Yeah. I thought he would hold, but he lost in a landslide to one of Mamdani's guys. And I think, all right, so the takeaway is
Gaza.
You can't just be anti-Trump. You can't be anti-Trump. You got to be a little larger and talk about the issues people care about, like Gaza, like Israel, but also, can you make life affordable? And the Democratic Socialists have a way, and the Democrats don't.
And they got Mamdani.
Mamdani's hot.
He's a charismatic dude, man.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about? I mean, I was surprised by Goldman, that Goldman did not do better, but he lost by some.
You know, he didn't have that much of a presence recently. You know, at least a national presence.
Yeah.
And he took a position that he was still about Israel, and he didn't speak critically enough.
Yeah. I thought he was
the overreaction, the overreaction of Israel
Yeah.
to October 7th, and their continuing prosecution of a near genocidal
Yeah.
attack,
Yeah.
continuing attack against Palestinians. Also, the continuing invasion of
Yeah.
the West Bank.
I really like Goldman, and I knew that was going to be an issue for him, defending Israel. But he's in a real mixed area, includes Chinatown, and I was wondering, there's a lot of people out there who are suffering from that Manhattan squish. Life is squishy. It's too small. It's too costly, and I don't think he seemed like the guy who was going to answer in a way that would lure those voters, and they're ready to go Democratic Socialists, which is Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and now we got more AOC types, these women with multiple names, and now there's like the second generation of AOC. And is this a thing that we're going to have to deal with nationwide, or do you think this is just New York?
No, no, no. This is a local phenomenon.
Yeah.
Very local. Very local. Okay. The true test of whether or not even just progressive politics or moderate liberal politics are working to the advantage of the Democrats or anybody else, right, is going to be the contest against Lawler.
Oh yeah,
in the
Malala, the
17th
conservative,
district.
yeah. And
Well,
Right.
he's a Republican. He still hasn't denied the freaking 2020 election. But even though he's tried to distance himself, from Trump, he up until recently was very righteous in his Trumpness.
I've noticed that too about Lawler.
at risk.
But he's trying to moderate in his way. But this is the tricky thing for tricky thing for Republicans. And this is what's important about Donald Trump kind of saying no to that housing bill, because here was a way that Republicans and Democrats could celebrate together. And Donald Trump's not into that.
Nah. You're giving Trump too much credit, right? You have to go with the petulant 4-year-old position. Okay, it's not his. It's bipartisan. That means it's got the stinky prints of Democrats all over it. Okay, and you're right about the leverage. You're absolutely right about the leverage. But I think a whole lot of it is about his petulance and the fact that he knows he's drowning in his own green water.
Yeah. Well,
he's failing. He's failing against algae.
the natural pollutant. But this is the thing. Everyone sees.
He's killing ducklings. He's killing ducklings.
Everyone
Damn it!
sees that reflecting pool as everything is a metaphor with Donald Trump, and
it's not reflecting anymore. It's reflection. It's a reflection pool, and so it is a mirror. It is a mirror. Okay, more than a metaphor.
Well, I like the metaphor of his name coming off the Kennedy Center, and
yeah, but they got it tarped though, so we can't see it.
But soon, his name will be off everything. I mean,
it's sort of like the Band-Aid that covers his genitalia.
We think we think he has one. South Park indicated that it was not. It was insignificant. It was like.
I don't know about him, but my genitalia got 3 parts. So
Dan, about this.
Genitalia is plural.
Oh yeah,
man.
it's like when Donald Trump went to say no to the housing bill, he talked about how the Democrats want all these communists, and how
well, that's
how
what they're
far?
going to do. That's absolutely predictable. Yeah. That's what they're going to do. That they're going to all do that. They're going to say there's a bunch of communists. Okay, they're going to keep doing that. And all you have to do is say, okay, Democratic Socialists. You can call them socialists if you want, and drop the Democratic part because they don't like that anyway. They keep calling Democrats just Democrat. It's a Democrat party, not a Democratic party, right? Because that TIC difference, right, makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, they're always
right?
Democrat, not Democratic. Yeah,
that's right. And so anyway, the point is that they're going to use that nationally. Okay, that's going to be their thing. They're going to just keep saying that stuff nationally. Okay, and I said it's local. That stuff is local. That's definitely NYC. That's New York City and the boroughs, man. You know. Now, could that happen in other cities? Yes, it could happen in places like St. Louis. It could happen in places like Chicago. It could even happen in LA.
Well,
man.
I mean, because it's not just they're talking about unions. They're talking about union organizing. They're talking about the high cost of living. They're talking about
could happen in Detroit.
I think
it's already happened in Seattle. They've had what? How did what's her name? The
I mean, there's a mayor there or something. The new mayor.
No, well, not just the mayor, but the South Asian congresswoman. I'm blowing it her name, but anyway, she started out as a Democratic Socialist in Seattle.
Oh, you're talking about Jayapal.
Why are we screwing up on her name? But anyway, you know who we're talking about. Jayapal.
Yeah.
And she I keep trying to sit and make her last name her first name. You know, this is screwing it up. But that's how she started out, and she's been there for a long time, man. Even in Portland, there have been people who were Democratic Socialists that are at least running for city.
This
city
is
office.
my point, that it's Bernie Sanders and all these people of color, generally men, women, black, brown, Asian, working class, and this is the progressive wing. And I think what's happening is when you say, "Oh, they're the communists," communists will never lead in America. It's almost like a generational thing, because we're talking about a new generation of people who don't know about the Cold War, don't know about Nikita Khrushchev, don't know about Mao and all that. All they see is here's the rich, here's the working class. The rich exclude the working class. We want to be included. And so
but they still have to deal. They still have to deal with the definition of socialism. They still have to deal with the confrontation of being called communists. So they still have to, and that's a good thing. Okay. Now, the judgment that you're making is based on what we know most education, formal education, all the way up to the college level contains. And the resistance from the right has been not only resistance to ethnic studies types of content, okay, whether or not it's actual ethnic studies. If it's content that has things about slavery that they don't like, that's being banned, right? All you got to do is look at the book banning that has been going on for the last 15, 20 years. I mean, it reached a really serious cycle in the first Trump administration, and it's continued since then. They're trying to close down libraries, right? Firing librarians, firing teachers, right? For saying that here's what inclusion means. Okay, this is what DEI means. They're not saying you should support DEI. They're simply saying this is what they're talking about. Okay, this is the same thing that the right did in the 50s and 60s. Okay, when people on college campuses wanted to talk about socialism.
About Marx
what is it? What's communism? Okay, and they said no, we're not letting you do that. Okay, at SF State, they let us do that. There was resistance, of course, in the history departments, in the political science departments, and especially in not in philosophy, but especially in the social sciences. Economics is what I was going to say, because economics is all about capitalism, right? And so, if you raise the question, what about what is a value-added tax? What is that? Well, what I got in my economics class, okay, from Professor Gallardo. I still remember his name. I used to call him Professor Lardo. But anyway, he was. This is not the appropriate forum to discuss. And then two of us stood up and said, "It says macroeconomics. Where would you suggest that we discuss this?"
And don't call it a progressive tax or a regressive tax.
That's how ridiculous it was. At UC Berkeley, what
Mhm.
resistance, right, was what created or generated the free
Yeah.
speech
Well,
movement.
I
The reason it started at Berkeley is because of the conservative right resistance. Okay, at SF State, we had progressive administrators. Okay, and they said, okay, you guys can have a speech
mm,
platform, right? You can talk about this stuff. You just can't disturb classes, and so you got to do that between 11 and 1 or 12 and 2,
yeah.
that kind of thing. Okay.
Well, I just think that we have a different generation. We also have different demographics in America. We have people who don't remember the stuff from World War II and the Cold War.
No, yeah. Well, you know what else? They took my. I'm not going to say this is true of all ethnic studies classes,
Hmm.
but if they took my class, all right,
Hmm.
and it was one of the most popular classes for decades, okay, literally thousands of people. I don't know if it might even reach 10,000 people. I was teaching there for 52 years, man. So,
Hmm.
so they got that because
Hmm.
I covered that.
Hmm.
You have to cover that. You have to talk
Sure,
about,
sure,
the
sure.
rise of
Well,
socialist thinking.
I just say that right now you're
Yes,
dealing with
I
young
agree
people in
with
their
you.
20s and 30s,
That's
and
right.
they just see that, hey, I can't get a job, I can't have a life as that's
Yes,
as good as my parents, and
yeah,
we need something. We need a change, and the demographics are right now, and the people of color, and the blacks and the browning of America is for real, and this only tends to feed the racial animus that the basic Trump policies are all based on. And so,
yeah,
I
but
just think
you don't hear the Republicans criticizing Trump as a racist
no, they don't, because they don't see the Save Act as being basically a racist thing. When in fact,
because they like the Supreme Court, they divide race from party
yeah,
politics.
yeah, but
You know,
what the Save Act, which is what Donald Trump wants to pass before any housing bill or anything other bill is passed by Congress, the Save Act is really a reform of the elections, which is tantamount to making federalizing the elections and making your the polls kind of de facto immigration offices, saying your papers please, you want to vote, your papers please. And
oh yeah,
I think that's where the racing comes in, because this is seen as the efficient way that Donald Trump can find people of color who shouldn't be here, as if those people are going to vote. I don't think there's no proof that people of color who aren't supposed to vote are voting. I think
they
most of
tried
them.
to, in various ways, went to court to try and enforce different versions,
Mm,
that would essentially agree, right, with his lie that started
mm,
before he even got elected the first time, right?
mm.
It's rigged. Remember,
Yeah, yeah,
it's rigged. 2015, it's rigged. Okay, because he was anticipating that he was going to lose.
yeah,
He
yeah.
really, the people who were most surprised by his winning were him and his family.
Right, right.
Okay?
They
They were
expected to lose.
they were in no way ready, man. They
Yeah,
they
they
were
said.
not, in no way were they getting ready to measure the drapes in the Oval Office, right? That's one of the constant
Yeah.
things that people talk about when they know that somebody's anticipating winning. Okay,
Well,
they in no way thought they were going to win,
yeah,
and
and that's why they had such a bad first term.
that's
But
right.
now the
Eh,
second
How
term,
long?
oh, they're
Look,
ready.
how long did it take them to even fill cabinet positions, right?
Well,
And
there's
there were ambassadorships and all that stuff that never got filled.
yeah.
That never
Well,
got filled.
it's still, and that's really kind of that was their pre-Doge, right?
Yes.
Don't fill roles. I mean, the State
Oh
Department is like
man,
that. Have
who
the
was it? Who
head.
was it? Was it? It was Tillis, wasn't it? That said Doge shit.
Yeah, don't you?
Yeah.
I just know that one of the ways they did things was not to have any not to fill any positions, and that's still a problem, yeah, in the government today. So, not to mention the fact that if you want to talk communists, and they're going to throw, oh, the communists are leading the way, and if you're going to go with that socialism, you're going to talk about big government. You're going to talk about, well, then what about how Trump leads with big government debt? 39
Yeah.
trillion is our national debt now. 39 trillion. It's double from when he took over in 2017.
Oh
39
my God.
trillion. I
Yeah,
mean,
and what were the Republicans talking about all the way up to and including the beginning of his second term? They're
yeah,
saying national debt,
yeah,
national debt, national
but
debt. And I'm laughing and saying, look,
yeah,
man, if you look, and once again, I covered this in my classes. I said, okay, here it is. Here's the pattern, right?
yeah,
Since World War II, including Vietnam War, and take a look at the pattern. And what it shows that the national debt goes up every time under Republicans, and the people who recover and start paying the national debt down every time was
yeah,
during Democratic presidential administrations.
yeah,
Every time. There's
yeah,
you cannot fake that stuff. Okay,
yeah.
it's right
Well, it's
there,
true.
plain and simple.
It's true. That's why the whole they're communists, they're big government.
Oh man,
Who's gonna
tax
tell
and
you that you
spend,
can't
tax
make all
and
the money you
spend,
want?
tax and spend, tax
Yeah,
and spend. Okay, here's the key: we won't tax you, but we'll spend
yeah, yeah. Right, right. Well,
on the
that's the thing
national
about
credit card, man.
yeah, that's the
Okay,
thing about Trump. He just hasn't led as a true conservative, and so yeah, anything he says about the communists is really is just
yeah.
he
Who
can't
wants
use it.
to, who in the world wants to reinstate the communist empire?
No one wants to reinstate the communist empire.
Putin does.
Oh, Putin does. Well, I mean, China has. China, they're communists. I mean, they're kind of this hybrid, communist, capitalist,
Yeah,
but they're basically communists. And so when you have, Donald Trump, in the last summit praising Xi as the greatest
he's a great
thing.
leader. Well, he
Yeah,
is. He
yeah.
is.
Well, he is, and Donald Trump wants to be like him. He wants to be like Putin. He
Well,
wants to be
well,
like all the
well. The number
autocrats.
one thing here's the difference, right? Right. The system in China favors great man theory. Okay,
Mm,
it favors. It's a party thing, right? It's just communist party thing. Okay,
mm.
okay. So that's the premise. Okay. Secondly, Xi is actually intellectual.
Yeah,
He actually
much more
is
so,
a
much more
very
so than Trump.
intelligent man. Okay. He understands history. Okay.
Yeah.
He understands technology. Okay. His administration has made all kinds of mistakes. Look at all of those great suburban cities, right? That
Mhm.
never got occupied because they couldn't move people out there. Okay. Because they didn't have enough jobs. They started suffering job shortage and all the rest of that stuff. And it's too close to the desert. Remember, they had the desert storms.
Yeah,
No pun intended, but
yeah,
storms coming from the east and blowing over on them. Anyway, I think let me okay, we were talking about the SAVE Act. Here it is. This is the real problems with the SAVE Act. A valid U.S. passport, certified birth certificate, or naturalization certificate, okay, is what you have to present. That's what you have to present. Here's what doesn't work anymore: a standard driver's license and even a real ID.
right,
Remember what
right.
we had to do to get a real
Yeah.
ID? And
Oh yeah, that was like
yeah,
that was torture practically. Yeah,
yeah.
bureaucratic torture.
The
All these little steps.
easiest thing is if you had a passport and a birth certificate at the same time, you went right through. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
problem, right? But
Yeah.
you also had to show an address, right?
Yeah.
You had to show connection to that address
See,
with a bill,
yeah.
all of that. Okay, and so that's no good anymore. That's
Yeah,
no good anymore.
And all
Also,
this is
if your name changed, who changes their names? A lot of women change
people
their
get
names.
married.
Yeah, when they get married. So
People get married.
it's not going to agree with their birth
So
certificate.
all this is a way to suppress the vote. It's
Yes.
a legal way to suppress the vote.
And
a
they've
legal
been
way.
doing it. They've been doing these things incrementally throughout the country. Different states have used these kinds of measures, right? How many states have tried to do this? Okay, and they even tried to control immigration.
Yeah.
And under the Constitution, it's only Congress that
Yeah.
has the power to control immigration. Plenary power.
Yeah, the whole thing about who gets who has the say so. The feds or the states control elections, but not immigration. But now the feds want to control the elections and they want
immigration.
And immigration at the polls.
Yes.
At the polls.
Yes.
And so far in the last couple of weeks we've had judges stand up and say no to Trump, in terms of arrests
And a couple of them, at least, have been Trump appointees.
Yes, I mean, so we have some sanity, and I think we have some sanity, and we have, well,
Yeah, but
because
here's the problem. Here's the problem. And okay, okay. Years ago, I was probably about 4 years ago when Twitter was still Twitter, right?
Mhm.
I said, look, everybody is peeing in their pants now because all of a sudden the Democrats have realized that the Republicans were very successful insulting, right, the judiciary, particularly the federal judiciary, and particularly the district and appellate courts. Okay, and so they were very successful in doing that, and the Democrats were sitting on their hands. Okay, so they were thinking they actually voted for a lot of these people. They actually voted them through. They voted with the Republicans in the Senate, right, to appoint these people. Okay, why would they do that? And the answer is really simple. They thought, well, if they're qualified, right, and as far as we can see, they're qualified. Some people they voted against, and they weren't that qualified. So they were saying, okay, they're going to be fair. For the most part, they're going to be fair. That's exactly what I said 4 years ago when people were upset that, okay, it's terrible. They're going to make decisions. All these people that were appointed that were on the Federalist list, okay, they're gonna make decisions. And I said, no, that's not true. Truly conservative judges, right, tend to stay with the law.
Oh yeah,
They
law.
really, believe that they should not be too creative about their decisions. They should interpret the law strictly.
This is what Trump doesn't get, because he thinks
doesn't want to get it.
He thinks he's the law. That's his problem. He thinks he's the law, and that your loyalty should be fealty to him. And
SCOTUS is giving him, right, what we always said was, the president as an absolute power, an executive power, right? That's it. That notion.
Yeah.
And that was emphasized with the immunity decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then the judges brought it up. Well, what if you had you ordered SEAL Team 6 to shoot, your opponent? What would happen? They never answered it. It was assumed that, he could do anything he wanted as long as it was in his office or outside. I mean,
the only people that talked about it were, of course, 2 out of the 3 women.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It was, but it was the fact that he has immunity for things he does in office is really already one of the big hurdles that he's overcome.
Absolutely.
And that's why now people are talking about reforming the courts and, maybe bringing up to 13 or term limits or something. We need something because because the Supreme Court has proven that they have no ethics right now, no ethics.
Yeah.
And so, this is part of the problem.
At least 3 of the justices are absolutely partisan.
Compromise.
Absolutely partisan.
And they're on the take. I mean, literally on the take. I mean, that's proven. That's proven. ProPublica.
Thomas has got the most money involved, but Alito doesn't have as much money involved. But some of his personal behavior, is pretty indicative of the extreme perspective that he has.
So let's bring this back to New York, because yesterday was New York, and we've got these 3 Democratic socialists. You say it's only New York, but you did say that, hey, it could happen in.
Whoops. I lost you, Emil.
Okay, here we are. All right, so I think what we have is a situation where the Democrats have to figure out how far left do they move, because they can't stand still.
Yeah, I think what they have to do is they literally have to just demonstrate themselves as being Big Tent. They have to, but they have to allow their candidates to do what they have to do to win in their home districts. That's what they have to do, man. Okay, it's that simple. So
you have to be facile and you have to
yes,
be quick
yes,
on your feet. I mean, because really, big tent to incorporate the left
yep.
when everyone is moving left, you need someone especially charismatic to move them to the center or who can hold them. Because let's face it, Barack Obama was no leftist,
No,
right?
he was a moderate, and I criticized. I said, look, everybody's expecting change, right?
Yeah.
We got the hope. Okay, we need the change, right?
Yeah.
And I said, it's ridiculous to think that he's going to be able to do all of that. Okay, and the first 2 years was the key, right? And instead of going with a major infrastructure bill, they went with healthcare instead.
Which was important, though. You got to admit,
it was important.
It was important.
It wasn't important, but strategically, I thought that was a big mistake. They could have gone with a big infrastructure bill, and they would have brought a whole lot of people over so that Obamacare would be a lot more acceptable. Now, the proof of the pudding is, right? People are saying, what the hell? I can't afford not only health insurance, I can't afford to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
They're shutting down rural hospitals. Okay.
See, this is the thing about what if all you have to do is look to see what all the presidents have done and not done. Obama wasn't perfect, but he did get people health care. And what I like to bring up, because when people talk about rent and mortgages and all that, I say, what happened when your world was upside down and you owed more on your house than it was worth? Did you walk away? Who fixed that bad mortgage that the bank sold you on? Of whom no one served any jail time, right? But who helped you out? It was Obama. Obama with his program.
It was.
And that's
it was Obama and the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I don't think people talk about that enough. But then when they remember when the world was really upside down in 2010. There was Obama to help you on a mortgage if you're upside down on your house.
Well, now, who pulled us out of the COVID crisis?
Oh yeah,
it was Biden.
Yeah, Biden.
And so what you want to keep talking about this stuff? Now, what did the stupid idiot Hegseth do? He said no more mandatory flu shot.
Yeah.
All right.
Now everyone's sick.
And so 60%. This is what scares me about the military, right? Only 40% of the people at that Air Force base decided to take the flu shot. So because he made it voluntary, right?
Yeah.
The other 60% got sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty absolute. That is pretty absolute. The 40% versus the 60%.
Oh, and by the way,
they got sick and so sick, one person died. They're doing an autopsy again to try and see whether or not the flu was directly associated with his death or if he had some other precondition, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
But now what is happening? Okay. Not only did that base say, okay, mandatory flu shots, okay, but now the Pentagon is reversing and saying, no, we got to do the flu shots.
Yeah. Right? See, this is the thing about the military. Military is, I think it's as socialist an organization or an entity that we have in America, right? Really? I mean, it is more socialist than that.
I can understand what you're saying. I can understand, but it's not socialist. It's, real socialism is where the bottom class holds the power through its representation. Okay, the officer class in the military does not represent the bottom power.
Okay,
all right. The top power, right?
Yeah, but when you talk about distribution, it's more like the communist end. It's more like communist China, all right, where they have the elites and then they have the workers.
Okay,
and that's the military in America, right?
Okay,
enlisted guys, officers, two different classes, but everyone looks the same. If you're an an enlisted guy. So that's American form of socialism.
Well, but what worried me about is that 60% that didn't want to take the shot. Does that mean that they like Hegseth?
They're loyal. They're loyalists. They follow orders.
That's kind of scary.
It is scary.
That's not an order. That's not an order. That's a Hegseth.
Yeah. Well, this
a
is the
policy.
thing. You got Hegseth and you got all these people who are unqualified, Pulte, doing things that they should never be doing. And now you got the unqualified replacing. Um, Actually, Pulte is less qualified than Tulsi Gabbard. So I guess
Yeah, it's gotten worse
we're
on
going.
that end.
Yeah.
And then Trump blocked the Clinton appointment.
Oh yeah.
And Clinton was going to get Democratic support, which means
Yeah.
that he would have been approved.
But he told Clayton to stay home. Stay
That's
home.
right.
We put Pulte in because he's my guy. We're going to weaponize what we can, and this is just Trump doing what he wants to willy nilly to destroy.
The Republicans have
democracy.
got to watch out for the second half of 77. They're going to watch out for the second half of 77 because the chairmanships of all of those committees, okay, especially if the Democrats win the Senate as well, okay, the chairs of they will have their footing, okay, because it's going to be the people in the second position on those committees that are now going to be elevated for the most part, right, to chairs of those committees. And I want to see that the Democrats prosecute the hell out of all of these people from the ground up. You got to start low, right? Get some successful prosecutions, get decisions that clearly state what the basis of the decision is, right? Yeah, what the legal basis of the decision is, right? And then use those things as precedent to move on up the chain of command. And the key
to the presidency.
That's right. And the key phrase is abuse of power. That's the key.
Your approach is different because you want to start from the bottom up. A lot of people are already talking about impeachment if the midterms fail, and that's probably where things are going to go or things are going to end up. But all I know is that it's probably going if the Republicans lose the Senate, it's going to be a rough 2 years for JDT. JDT.
I say that's an understatement. I hope that it is a walking hell for all of those folks, man. I hope it's a walking hell for them. But you gotta start low. I'm willing to start sometime in the middle low, okay? But you got to pull down a guy like Pulte. You got to pull down Tulsi Gabbard. You got to pull down.
Oh, she's gone. She's gone.
Nah, man, but you can still prosecute her for past abuse of power.
Oh yeah. Oh, Bondi, don't. Let's not forget Pam Bondi.
Man. Just because they're out of office, you're gonna let them go.
Let's not forget the dog killer. Let's not forget the dog killer.
Yes, I mean, get them all, put them all up, man, and because there's legitimate reasons to do it. That's not weaponization of the freaking the Department of Justice.
Right.
Okay?
It's not over. It's not over. So your vote counts. I guess the real thing, the takeaway from yesterday's vote in New York in the primary is when the Democratic Socialists win, it shows that people want answers and the Democrats aren't giving those answers. So the Democratic Socialists are. It's not enough to be against Trump. George Conway,
the so-called establishment Democrats.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
one of the criticisms of younger people of the Democratic Party is that there's no difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. They're all corporate support parties.
Right.
That's all they're at. They're about corporate wealth.
Tweedledee and Tweedledummer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's a legitimate criticism. In my own classes, I said those are legitimate criticisms because, and what were they assisted by? They were assisted by the Supreme Court in Citizens United. Now, in my classes, students were looking at me like, "What the hell? Why do we care about Citizens United?" Now everybody's starting to talk about Citizens United again, and it's become an important plank in the Democratic National Platform. Get rid of Citizens United and then challenge the Supreme Court.
It takes a while because everyone, even the good guys, are dependent on that money.
Well,
and
you got enough people on the local level. You got enough people on the local level that are saying, "I'm not taking that money," and they're winning.
Yeah.
They're winning.
Well, yeah. And I think so. There's that. And I think we cannot forget, we cannot underestimate the power of the demographics of America.
Oh yeah,
Black, brown, Asian. There's a reason why.
and they're
that
highly
whole thing-
motivated. They're
Yeah,
highly motivated,
right?
man.
Because they've been shut out, they've been excluded. But there's a reason why Trump and all the MAGA folks have banded together around racial issues that put whites first, that bring down immigrants, that try to just get them to self-deport or get them removed from the country. It's because they see the demographics and they want a new white supremacy. They want to establish that in our country.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I just disagree with the new white. They want to reestablish.
Well, all right. It's newish. It's less. it's more out in the open. Less, nice. Less. Oh, we're all.
It was out in the open before, man. I'm older than you. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well,
Open segregation. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't.
You could.
I realize that I am too.
Well,
after going to Atlanta, I realized that I am too. I mean, we segregated, and actually they tried to bus. They tried to bus in school during my years.
Yeah, that's right.
In the 60s and 70s.
That's right.
Failed miserably. So,
well, and it failed because even liberals were challenging busing as a remedy.
Sure. That's the thing. That's why Daniel Goldman lost in New York, because where does a good liberal turn after, he's a good guy. Daniel Goldman was a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He was a leader on impeachment. He was a smart guy when he appeared on cable. Where does a good guy like him go when he doesn't have the rapport with this new crowd that says, your establishment, you're too far in, we can't trust you? And
well, I think it was that, and also there was a good alternative offer. There has to be somebody that's credible as an alternative, and that's what they found. That's what the Democrats need to repeat. Okay, in key districts all throughout the country, they got to quit doing the urban thing. How long ago did people start criticizing the Democratic Party because they were using urban politics, right? To win elections. And I remember them making that argument, people making that argument 25 years ago. And I'm talking about Democrats making that criticism against their own party, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Goldman's race was against Brad Landers. And Lander he spoke the talk, and he was in there, talking about exclusion. And
he's also Jewish, like Goldman, and he was critical of Israel.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, he was. If you're going to put up a candidate that could win, that's like a really good choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, you compare that with the ladies who are running. Like in the New York 7th, you had Claire Valdez. She beat the Brooklyn Borough president, Reynoso, and who was backed by the incumbent Velasquez, but that didn't help Reynoso. And there was and so what did Valdez talk about? She talked about abolishing ICE, a free Palestine, strong labor unions. Right. I mean, that's kind of that's the stuff that the young people want. They want those issues addressed, as well as affordability, as well as the high rents and transit, food costs, all that.
Well, so I know that we have to close soon, but let's resolve at least where we think things should go. Yeah, we've discussed Trump. Is he going to veto this thing? I
know it gets passed even if he doesn't veto it. Because,
that's right.
So that's right. I think it's just a distraction, and also it doesn't really solve the housing, problem.
Not at all.
It's not going to lower your rents. It's not going to, it might put more houses on the market, but there'll be market rates.
The danger is that they'll build more public housing.
Oh, maybe.
Then the question, and people are going to say, what's wrong with that? And the answer is, there's nothing wrong with building public housing. It's what kind of housing you build
Yeah.
and where you build it.
Where you put it. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
So, I mean, they should just put it next to the Gracie Mansion and other places, you know. I mean, no, scattering public housing in richer areas, not a bad. I mean, it's been done.
It's been done, and it's
It's an
been done
approach.
successfully.
It's
It's been
approach.
done successfully.
Yeah, it's an
Right?
approach, and it might work on a massive scale. But the bill that they're, that they're doing is really just to deregulate, allow the builders, and so it's corporate more so than it is, people oriented. So we'll see. And then, hey, the bigger question is, what happens with this MOU thing? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just every day it's like, oh, we're set
man.
back.
Okay,
Now we have inspectors, now we don't. Contradictions.
Okay, one, what's coming out of the mouths of Trump and Vance, right, is BS. So, okay,
Yeah.
it's simple.
All lies.
All
All lies.
there it is. Now, what you really need to do is step into the shoes of the Iranians, step into the mind of the IRGC, right? Remember 2 months ago, what was I saying when they were killing off the Khomeini, right? And the two degrees of ayatollahs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was I saying? I said it doesn't even matter. Okay, they kept saying there's going to be new leadership, and I said it doesn't even matter. What matters is the IRGC. That's what matters. The military is what matters. Okay, where are we right now? That's what matters. Okay, what did they say? We wiped them all out. He said it again yesterday in Pennsylvania.
They have no Navy. They have no Air Force.
They got no Army. They got no Navy. They got nothing. Okay, really? What are those things that keep flying over and actually hitting American bases in Gulf states? What is that stuff?
They have no Navy. They have no Air Force.
They got nothing. We destroyed it all. We got nothing. And the nukes,
they're not a country.
It's not worth
They're not
anything. The nuclear dust isn't really worth anything. So they can have that. Okay. Wait a minute. Other Gulf states have missiles. So why should we deny them, the having missiles? We should, this guy is talking about all sides of not only his mouth, but every other available orifice.
Yes, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. And it's just he's caught in this liar's loop, and he can't be trusted. And, he's meeting with NATO now, and NATO is, Keir Starmer's gone. The whole thing about NATO is our allies don't depend on the United States as much. They don't trust the United States.
It's worse than that. They've already set themselves up so they don't need us anymore.
Yeah.
It's not just they don't depend on us. They're trying to set themselves up so they're independent of the United States. Okay. Yeah. And remember what happened? What was the reaction of 5 NATO countries when it looked like Trump was going to make good on invading Greenland?
Oh, they were
ready to they sent military units over there, and they said, I hope we're not going to war, but he's going to pay a price. And they were willing to do that. They were willing to make Trump pay a price. Now, do you think that's going to work with the American population, the general population? Okay.
I think if people are waking up to see how, as soon as I mention Trump during my shows, everyone says, oh, I mean, it's not like, granted, I'm in San Francisco, so there's no love.
Well,
for
what
Trump
about
here.
elsewhere? What about you mention Trump in Atlanta?
I mentioned Trump in Atlanta, and only there were no Trumpers in my shows, but there were no one in my shows either. So in San Diego, I had a guy who looked like the second coming of Pete Wilson, with the hair and all that.
Yeah,
he walked out of my show. He walked out of my show.
Fine.
Yeah. So
San Diego, I'm just saying, national city full of Filipinos, but the problem is it's a major naval base.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. So I think that in America, though, the Trump's ratings are so low. I mean, he's down in the 30s. I just don't see people rallying to bring him out of that. And
he had a crowd in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's
what he had to say.
Well, that's true. It's hard to believe, but I guess there's some people still hanging in there. But I always get encouraged I got encouraged when the Senate crossed over and they got the War Powers thing passed and they got
Yep.
the House bill
Yep.
passed, and then when Trump said no to signing the House bill today, the housing bill, I just thought, wow, he's going down. He's ready to go all the way, and I don't think it's going to be pretty.
I encourage him. I'm encouraging him. You know, just keep doing it, man. Just keep
Yeah.
doing what you think is your leverage. Just keep talking that talk. Just keep walking that walk. Just keep blocking even your own party from getting things done. Go ahead. Keep it up. Keep it up.
People are angry, and that's the thing that what happened in New York is going to extend elsewhere. People are angry. They want something. They don't want to pay $6 gas. I paid $6.54 the other day for 1 gallon. I wasn't going to pay for 2. One gallon to get me to
down to over $5 now.
Yeah,
there's a lot of places. Yeah, right.
I want to I want to drive to the $5 gas now, but I was stuck in the $6.54 gas, and I had to buy 1 gallon.
Costco. Check your local Costco and also Arco. The best gas, though, frankly, is Costco and then Standard.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know, you know what? I saw a Shell station that actually had a price that was lower than a Standard station. You know, it was on 80 in Vallejo. I could not believe it.
So Standard, that's Venezuelan oil?
No, actually, yeah. It's from everywhere else but Venezuela.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Standard,
I thought they had a deal.
Well, they do, but it's much thicker oil. It has a lot of sulfuric content, and so it's more difficult to refine it. Yeah.
All right. So considering where we are now with gas, and I mean, would you want to buy a gas car used right now, or go with a hybrid? Because it looks like we are moving toward EV, electric hybrid. And if gas prices don't go down, it sounds like if you buy a used gas car now, you are, I don't know, it's old technology and you're going to pay more in the end. Or would you get an old gas car or a slightly used hybrid?
I would go with the used hybrid.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to buy, but I already have a hybrid.
Yeah, me too.
So I might even think about doing an EV, but I'm waiting to see what happens when Americans on the northern border with Canada see all of the Chinese EVs.
Oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Canadians are going to be driving, and the prices on those things that the Canadians are going to be driving.
Well, I bought a hybrid, and I was just reading about the plug-in hybrid of the Prius, and got really rave reviews about the plug-in hybrid. So you can go all electric and hybrid when you need, but mostly it's like the best of all worlds right now where we are now.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like sometimes you look at the world in terms of the gas prices. That's sort of driving everything, and how driving. What are you going to buy in the next 2 years or 3 years?
See, it's not only that. People got to be looking at why is the cost up even on groceries. It's not just about us and our cars. It's about diesel and it's about trucks. So
and diesel $7.
Well, see and then we have this battle over EV, but then there's also the battle over AI.
Oh yeah, AI. Yeah, AI is going to be.
And it's largely because of the two big projects that they want to build. On the private side, it's AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supplying the kind of power
and
water that AI centers need, right? And they're moving them out to the suburbs, and the people in the burbs are having to deal with how they're they don't have enough power. And the locals don't want them to burn the electrical grid, the local grid. Yeah. And so several of these plants are turning to jet engine turbines. Okay. And the complaint is it's like there's jets, down the block from your house, man.
Yeah.
And so they're
Well,
having to do all kinds of things to quiet down their turbines that are supplying the power to run the AI centers.
a new not in my backyard issue.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing, man. It's a whole
Yeah.
nother thing. And
All
then
right. So,
between that and the other big thing is the detention centers. And
oh,
now they're trying to sell back some of those warehouses because people don't want the detention centers in their
yeah.
backyard. All right. So they're losers all the way around, man. And
Yeah.
they still want to favor the six guys, the six billionaires that were standing up there with Trump on his inauguration day, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
really bad. And the young, like you say, the younger voters are looking at that stuff and saying, you were going to supply us with jobs. And then when you do AI, okay, it takes away jobs and people
Yeah.
have been laid off, especially the big companies, okay?
Yeah.
They've been
Well, I
laid
mean,
off.
there are those people, the grads at Stanford who walked away. That took a little guts, when Pichai showed up,
Yeah,
the Google guy.
yeah.
Pichai. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody. I had a problem with what they were going to charge me for a late payment or something, and then I argued the case, and I told her, okay, just wait. And I said, you have a very familiar accent because I'm Filipino American, and she said, oh, you don't have any accent. You're American, right? And I
Yeah.
said, so are you in country or are you in the Philippines in a call center? And she said, oh, I'm in country and in Florida. And I said,
Oh.
that's sort of in country. And she said, okay, yeah. So we started yucking it up and talking. And I said, well, how do you feel about AI? And she said, oh, everybody's scared. And I said, yeah, it makes sense. Everybody's scared. And she goes, but I get people who say, I don't want to be talking to AI. And she said, okay, all you have to do is tell them that whenever you get an AI, all you have to do is tell them that, and you want to talk to a live human being, and they're obligated to switch you over. I said, yeah, but how long is that going to last?
Well, every time I say, "Are you AI? Are you AI?" And I am an assistant. F you. So, Dan, switching subjects.
Yeah, what do you think about the Knicks?
The Warriors. The Warriors drafted Yaxel.
Yeah. How
And
cool
so
is that?
I think he might be good enough to start. He's old
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make us forget about Kaminga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't working out, man. JK was not working out. Jonathan.
But Yaxel, Player of the Year, Michigan, went from junior college. I love those draft stories because these big, gawky kids with just extreme gifts, and it's not easy to get in that position when you are the top 20 or the top 10 or the top 3. And those guys are going to get big paydays.
Oh yeah.
Right out of the gate,
Well,
they're going to get big
and
paydays.
I've listened to his interviews, and he sounds like he's going to fit in.
Yeah, older guy. Came out of JC, and then got to. I think he played in. Where did he play? Alabama or something. But he got to Michigan, and became Player of the Year, and that's all because of NIL, right?
He said he wouldn't hold Draymond because he was from Michigan State.
Oh yeah.
So he said no, that's not going to be a thing.
Yeah. Well, I think he's. It's a positive thing. He's not going to be the difference maker for the Warriors. The Warriors are still old, but it should make them fun to watch.
Couple more years. Just give us a couple of more good years, okay? And then
Stephen Curry,
go out smiling.
Yeah,
it's cool. We can live with that. Man.
Yeah. All right. So the Warriors, that was a good
go.
story. And then also the World Cup. Look, as a soccer coach, I mean, I think
USA.
Well, I got a kick out of England and Ghana. Playing to a tie. I mean, you're talking about the colonized versus the colonizers.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
In all these games, right? And boy, and that was so tight, and if you don't know the offsides rule, maybe after this tournament and the VAR where they show you what
Yeah,
offsides
yeah,
is.
yeah.
You can't camp and like stay at the goalie and say, "Pass me the ball. I'm here. I'm here." You can't go there and then have someone pass you the ball. The ball has to go first behind the defense, and then an offensive player goes at after the ball. And if you can coordinate that, the ball goes first, crossing line, and then you go in and get the ball, no offsides. But you get behind the defense and stand by the goalie and say, "Here, pass me, pass me," and they pass you, you're offsides because you're behind the defense. I
Yep.
mean, believe me, it's so hard to teach that as a coach. Sorry, and so hard to tell people about the offsides rule, but it makes sense. It makes it fair when you see it, and that
Yeah.
VAR only helps. It only helps to say, "Oh, look," then now it gets petty. "Oh, that guy's arm was over the line," or that.
Yeah, they were really good though. I mean, I was watching some, and I'm not into soccer that much, but when you see really good playing happening,
Yeah.
it's worthwhile.
Oh
It's
yeah,
really worthwhile.
because as the offense moves in, the defense tries to move up to get the offensive strikers offside, and then they kick it back, and the offense becomes defense and brings the ball back up, and you see the movement of the field, and it's, some teams they'll show that to you, and it's good. Oh, and Messi had some good goals
Oh
when he
man,
had his second hat trick.
yep.
That one
Everybody's
goal where
talking
the
about,
ball,
yeah. The neat thing about
yeah.
it, okay, there are two things that I like besides what's happening on the pitch, right?
Mhm.
And one of them is when the old guys talk about Messi
Mhm.
because he's an old guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. And then the other
38.
thing is, yeah,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is when they talk to the owners of the taverns and the bars,
Mhm.
and they say, what's really cool is that we get these calls from like the consulates of some of these countries, and they say, hey, can we come and watch at your place? And they say, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And so they all come in, and people, even though the two competing countries are right there in the same
Yeah.
bar, everybody gets along, right?
Well,
And
that's fun.
that's neat.
That's the beautiful game. The beautiful game. All right, Dan. Well,
Yeah.
listen.
All right, man.
We'll see what
We went
happens.
over.
Huh?
We went over time.
We made it over. Yeah. All right. That's all right. All right. All right, Dan. Bye bye. Farewell. So long. There he
Have
goes.
a yeah. If I don't see you before the weekend, have a good
Yeah.
weekend.
And,
And
yeah.
once again, every day is Father's Day, man.
Every day's Father's Day. Yeah. Hey, yeah. I wanted to talk to you about that because it seems sometimes that Father's Day is you spend the time enabling the people to give you the obligatory well wishes that they feel obliged to give you, and somehow it's not as fun as if they say, "Well, what do you want to do today, Dad?" And then you just do it, and then that's it. But it seemed that this year I was like, trying to placate or trying to enable the celebrants, whereas maybe I would have just cool, chilled out. But anyway, look, it's Father's Day. Every day is Father's Day, really. And and generally it was good. It was good. We ate a lot more than we thought we should have, but it was still a good day. All right.
Yeah. I put a limitation on the food thing
Oh
too.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think some people may have been disappointed by that.
Dad, you're not
But
eating.
but
Are you
reality
well? Are you sick?
well, yeah, the reality is that everybody's watching their diet now. We've shifted a lot of our away from meat, and so it's a
All
good
right,
thing.
we'll have
It
to
was a
go
good
out and get more meatless meals. It'll be cheaper. It'll be cheaper now.
vegan. We got to go
Vegan,
vegan.
yes.
I want to try. What's her name? Reina.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Reina.
Figure it out
You
because
know,
I don't know where she is, but I know that I've had her.
she's sharing her
I
kitchen in on Fulton, I
I've
think,
had her
in the
lechon.
outer
I've had
Richmond.
her lechon. So yeah, let's check her out.
Okay, man.
All right, there goes Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University. Hey, one thing I need to do also before I say goodbye today. Hey, what happened at the Marsh? I was at the Marsh on Monday night. I did a some version. See that's the poster I'm using in Winnipeg before the Pope said AI is mortal sin, and so I'm using AI there because not because I'm a graphic artist, but because I'm lazy. Okay, but I did my show, or not my show, an excerpt at the Marsh on Monday. I thought it was good. I had tried to incorporate some news stories to 69, Emil Muck, Anchorman. The news made me do it. But the real surprise is there was a guy there in the second row. He was watching, and he came up afterwards and he said, and I mentioned a story about my English teacher, my AP English teacher, who was 102. He said, well, is she fine? I said, do you know her? He says, yes. And who are you? And then he said, I'm Bernard Vash. Bernie is my friend, Bernie Vash, formerly ACT, great actor, thespian all around in high school and in college, went to Carnegie Mellon. I mean, he's like master thespian in my book, right? And he was there to see me, and I appreciate it. So shout out to Bernie. He really is one of the finest actors in San Francisco, right? ACT. To have him there, it was a real treat. Because I remember in high school, he was the guy on stage, and what was I? I debate team. What did I do? Played football until I got kicked off because my hair was too long. So it was good to see Bernie. Good to tell that story about Flossie, and just good to see people at the Marsh, Monday Night Marsh. I'm going to try to sneak in a couple more little bits at the Marsh before I'm off to Winnipeg in July. But yeah, I'll be at the Winnipeg International Fringe Festival in Manitoba. I like Winnipeg. There are more Filipinos in Winnipeg than, I mean, they got Jollibees up there. That's how many Filipinos are in Winnipeg. It's real. It's real. The Filipinos in Winnipeg. All right. I'm going to take off. Boy, it's been real strange catching up after flying around San Diego, Atlanta, then back, and then a bunch of stuff here. So I'm relaxing a little bit. May pop up tomorrow, maybe not. But check it out on our YouTube channel at Amilamuck1. Don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe. And that's it. All right. So we end with a little loving kindness, because this is not just all about me talking about me. It's about us, right? And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Shout out to Sharon Salzberg. Hey, because that's her prayer. Loving kindness. Embrace the world. Till next time. Amilamuck here. Mahal Kita.